This is Emily, and this is the M Dash. If this is your first time here, I'm so glad you found your way. And if you've been on this journey with me from the beginning, thank you so much for coming back. Let me ask you something. When you hear the word risk, what comes to mind? Just the first thing that comes to mind. A lot of examples I think we relate them to is moving to a new city, starting a relationship, trying something new, being vulnerable, which I cover quite a bit lately, changing a habit. But when I was getting this podcast together, I was thinking sometimes that risk is just eating that chili cheese dog knowing that heartburn lives on the other side. But I say that because I feel like the word risk is so misleading. Most of us don't avoid risk because we're lazy. We avoid it because we want to feel safe. Safety is a routine, or staying where things are familiar, avoiding a change, avoiding uncomfortable emotions. And then what we often call risk is just stepping out of what feels familiar. It's stuck with me lately, I think, because of vulnerability and because of how I feel like I've shared myself and shared emotions. It's the importance of feeling safe in our emotions. And when you think about risk, you don't feel like it feels safe. It doesn't feel like those two words could coexist or even be in the same sentence. But it's being safe in the emotions is why we usually take the risk, right? Because otherwise we feel like we could be rejected. We could be embarrassed. Uncertainty lives there, and disappointment if you've done it before. You might be afraid to try something again because the first experience didn't leave you feeling safe. But sometimes the real risk isn't the action. It's just the emotions we're afraid to feel. Let's try something for a minute. Grab a piece of paper and a pen. If you cannot do that because you're driving, walking, whatever it might be, maybe just picture this in your mind, okay? Make two columns. On one side, write down the fear or the risk, okay, that you're thinking in your mind. On the right side, I want you to write down what would happen if it worked out. What do you see happening if it worked out, right? Let's say you start a new exercise routine and you drop the 20 pounds by summertime, and that was your goal weight. That's just the first example that came to my mind. So just write down the risk or the fear, and then what would happen if it came to fruition the way you want it to. It could be anything. It could be exploring a new opportunity. It could be changing a habit like I mentioned. And it could be very well letting yourself be seen, being vulnerable. So as you do this list, I want you to pause for a moment. And if you can close your eyes, please do. We tend to take deeper breaths when we're centered in that sense. So drop your shoulders, softly close your eyes, and take a deep breath in and let it out. Now, think of the first thing you wrote down or you pictured in your mind. And instead of thinking the end result, I want you to feel the feeling if it did, right? So let's say we use my example. You committed to a program and now you have hit that goal weight. What does that feel like? Does it feel like accomplishment? Do you feel joy? I want you to tap into the emotion to the end result, okay? Or what you see the other side of it looks like. It's safe to feel excited about something that's scary. I'll say that again for you. It is safe to feel excited about something that is scary to you. I've talked about peeling back layers, and that's how you ease in, I would say, to vulnerability, is just softly peeling back and just showing up as you, authentically you, in areas you might not have dreamed of you would. Sometimes the risk isn't about what we're doing, it's about how we're allowing ourselves to be seen, sharing how you feel, expressing a desire, showing emotion, letting someone know the real you. Growth often looks like peeling back the layers, right? Let's think, I'm going to give you my example. It's my book. I published my book in November, and it's honest words from my journal from the last 4 years. 5 years, really, but 4 or 5 years, give or take. It's my personal words, personal things I wrote, and I took that risk that it might not be everyone's cup of tea, but it was for me to peel back that layer and share and expose. And I shared in my podcast that a couple weeks ago, and it made me emotional to think how long it took me to get there. And it's not so much about publishing the book. It's, for me, it was like having street cred, right? That's what I give that. I make that joke all the time, that so many people think I'm just this tough girl and I can handle anything. Sure I can. But there's emotions in that. I get overwhelmed. I get sad. I feel all the things that everyone else feels. That doesn't change because you expose yourself. It's more about honoring the feeling and letting it release. And release feels scary. Crying feels scary. How often do we find ourselves saying, God, I haven't cried in, I don't know how long, a year, 6 months? I hear people say that a lot. But why do we hide emotion? Why? Is it risky? Because it doesn't feel safe? Even when we're alone, we hide emotion. Why do we hide emotion from ourselves? There's somewhere we've learned down the line that it's not okay, but it actually is okay. It is really healthy to express how you feel. And I'm not talking about a middle finger. I make that joke because I kind of felt like I had to, but if you need to do it to yourself, do it even to yourself. I'm not going out there and telling you guys to spread hate and anger across this world. But I think a lot of times those things come out because we suppress the rest. And I'm no expert, but I do know when I release, I feel different. I sleep better. My shoulders drop. I feel like I got it out. And that's why I journal. That's why I do the things I do. It's my way of release. It's my way of showing the emotion. And honestly, I'm not perfect at it. This weekend I had a conversation with a friend that moved away. And he was sharing, about moving to a new city. And this is the second city they're in. And the first city, it didn't go so well for one, right? And in the second city with his partner, it's going really well for one of them. Not that they're both not thriving, but one in each city has done better than the other, so to speak. I'm probably not wording that correctly, but I just want you to get the gist of what I'm saying. But the blessing on the other side is they've been able to travel and see new things, a new way of living, and be exposed to new people, new food, new things. And that's a risk. And they didn't move just for the reward, right? They both took the risk. One took a risk for a new opportunity. The other took the risk being along for the ride. And that's a lot. I think of another, friends that did the same thing recently. But my point to getting at, there isn't always going to be that instant reward. The reward is growth. The reward is learning new things. And for me, the vulnerability side, learning new ways I feel and to express those and not feel guilt behind those. There's so many things that come up when you feel sad. You reflect, right? Why do I feel sad? Or maybe you don't, but I'm challenging you to reflect. But reflect when you feel sad. What is coming up? What situation is making you sad? What is it? Dive into it. Did it feel risky? Maybe it was a relationship that didn't work out the way you thought it would. But you took that leap, right? And you tried. And I guarantee you learned something about yourself along the way. And that's what I want to challenge you, is to know that it's not always going to turn out the way we want, but there's a feeling associated with it. And if you can feel joy by just saying, okay, maybe this doesn't happen for me, but I learned this doesn't work for me, or this works for me, or I have a new restaurant with a new favorite dish I was exposed to. I can't wait to go back and eat that again for a new experience. Or I have a new friend from this. Whatever it might be, there's a learning in it. Learning is a risk, right? When you're in school, maybe you're in school right now, maybe you're at college age. I think with me, because here I am in my late 40s. Ooh, that feels still so weird to say. Okay, a great example. My niece, this first came to mind. She's studying abroad in Italy this semester. And I just say that and I get emotional. Man, see, really in tune with my feelings these days. But I'm like, that's something I never did. And it is so beautiful to watch her experience life with new people, new surroundings, new learnings, new food, new everything. That was a risk. That was a risk she took to not be with the same friends this semester. And what? We risk that, and we think to ourselves, what if we're not still friends because we didn't see each other, right? What if we didn't connect as much? Or she's in a relationship. What if she's thinking, what if it doesn't work out? But I guarantee you, my niece got the feeling, what if it did? What if I never took this chance and never got to experience this again? I think that's beautiful. And I love that I just thought of that example, because she deserves this. Like, everyone deserves this. And it's something I never did, because I can be completely transparent to say I didn't want to leave the people at college behind to go do that. I didn't want to miss something, so to speak. And now I look back and what did I miss? Probably nothing. Just my expansion. But I am a big believer in timing. And it's not for me to go back to the shoulda, coulda, woulda. But it's for me to learn from that and see what she's doing and let that inspire me to do more. And that's what I want to challenge you today. That maybe risk isn't danger. Maybe risk is simply an invitation to expand. Trying something, learning, growing, discovering. That sounds like joy to me. Think to yourself, I can't talk. Think to yourself where in your life you are being invited to expand. Maybe sit with that for a minute. It doesn't matter how old you are or how young you are. It doesn't matter how much is ahead of you, because we all actually do not know that. But this is your chance. Like, my last episode was like, embrace the 24 hours you're in, right? Think of all the things that could go right, all the things you could accomplish. Well, this speaks to that, right? Take that risk. And if risk, the word, is scary to you, think of it as expansion, as growth, as learning. Look at it with a new lens. Because sometimes what we call risk is simply life asking us to grow, to explore unfamiliar territory. It is safe to feel excited and fear together. So maybe the question isn't, is this risky? Maybe the question is this an invitation to expand? I want to leave you guys with a blessing. May you recognize the moments in your life that feel both exciting and a little bit scary. May you trust that fear and excitement can exist in the same breath. May you feel safe enough within yourself to explore what's unfamiliar. May you give yourself permission to expand one small step at a time. And may you remember that sometimes what we call risk is simply life inviting us to grow. If there is something in your life right now that feels exciting and a little bit scary, I hope you give yourself permission to sit with that feeling, to breathe through it, to breathe with it. Trust that fear and excitement can exist in the same time. You don't have to rush. You don't have to force anything. Just allow yourself the space to explore, to grow, and to expand at your own pace. Because sometimes the biggest changes in our lives begin with a single moment where we feel it's safe to try. Until next time, keep expanding. This is Emily, and this is the M-Dash, and you are always welcome here.